Hi, welcome everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to our stream, welcome to our live stream, to our Cempaka webinar. Let's wait a few more seconds. Before we start, I would, of course, would like to thank everyone for joining. Don't forget to click the like button, to share the video with your friends and family, and stay until the end because we're going to have a Q&A session where you can ask us anything. Hi everyone. Hi Eva. Hi Sulaiman. Hi everyone on YouTube and Facebook. Okay, let's get started. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, watching us live on YouTube and Facebook right now. This is Cempaka School's webinar series. I'm Alex, and I will be your host today. And good afternoon to our speaker, of course, Tania, and welcome back to school. Good afternoon, Tania.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be back.
Let me introduce you to our audience first. Tania is a registered dietitian and a certified sports nutrition specialist. She's a board member of the International Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics and has worked with the Malaysian National Sports Institute and with the Malaysian National Athletes. She's also a co-founder of the Sports Nutrition Academy and currently working for a digital therapeutic company. Tania, I think it's safe to say that you're quite familiar with the topic of nutrition, but maybe you can share a few more thoughts and things about yourself.
Sure. Yeah, first of all, thank you for inviting me. It's really good to be back, and I'm really happy and excited that I'm speaking to my fellow Cempakans, and I have been in Cempaka. Well, I've left Cempaka for a really long time, but I'm really happy to be, speaking to all of you. So my name is Tania, and I from the class of 2007. And I did my degree after Cempaka in the US in dietetics and nutrition. And shortly after, I did my internship in Ghana, where we focus a lot on maternal as well as children's health. Then I work at the National Sports Institute, and then I went to Taiwan to do my master's in sports science. And then I'm back. Here I am.
Wow. A lot of adventures in your life after you've graduated. Yes, we mentioned already that you are once a Cempakan student, a head prefect even. Do you miss school, and do you think Cempaka has played a role in your successful development?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So I've been telling, my students as well as some of my swimmers that I teach that high school or even college life is one of the best times that, all through your life, before you start work, because especially when I was in Cempaka, Cempaka is always emphasizing on being a sportsman, a scholar, and a gentleman, right? So apart from education, providing very good quality education, we also do a lot of sports, like sports carnival, games carnival, sports day, and we are very competitive. I'm very competitive. Apart from sports and education, we also do a lot of charitable work and doing good for the society as a whole. So I really feel that being in Cempaka helped me to be an all-rounder, which really helped in terms of transitioning to college as well as work. So of course, being in Cempaka really does help with my personal growth as well.
Yes, in Cempaka, really, sports is a key component for us. That is very important, no doubt about it. You actually have more than 300 medals in swimming, and I think many of our students will be wondering, which sport house are you rooting for?
Well, you can see here, Harimau.
Wow, let's go Tigers.
Go Tigers.
Okay, our
Harimau.
They'll be really excited.
Any Harimau here, you can put on the chat box.
Okay, that is great, really. We are really glad to have you here as our guest to share your knowledge and experience with us on something extremely important, such as nutrition. So during our webinar today, we will touch upon nutrition for 3 age groups, that is preschool, primary and secondary school, as well as your personal favorite, which is sports nutrition. We have prepared a few common myths that we would like you to share your thoughts on. Shall we start? For our audience, please stay until the end, as we're going to have a Q&A session where we will try to answer as many of your questions as we can. And now, let's get started, shall we? Children have different types of nutritional needs at different stages of their life. Let's start with Michaelia, our preschool center in Cempaka. I'm sure there are many parents or future parents who would like to know how to best take care of their children's nutrition. Can you share your thoughts with us?
Sure. Yeah. So, first of all, today we're going to talk about nutrition, right? Nutrition for children. So we're starting from preschool up to primary and secondary. So I think there are common features for all of this age group, especially for children, is that there's rapid growth, in terms of physical, mental, neurodevelopments, and even social development. And in terms of physical, it's also influenced by a quick cell division during the growth, which requires an increased need of nutrients. So and every children at every different stage, they have very special unique needs. So for example, in preschool, so around 2 years old to 5 to 6 years old, it is when the child is actually in a growth spurt, as well as a phase of exploration, because many of these preschoolers, they are exploring new type of food, transitioning from having the breast milk or formula milk into eating real food, weaning off. So they'll be eating a lot of different types of maybe mixed dishes, maybe learning to pick up food with the hands or using a spoon, and just feeding themselves. So at this age, or during this period of time, it is very important that parents should set as a role model, because that's when the child really learns about food and knowing how to eat, what to eat. And whatever parents' eating behavior or even feeding strategies, right, it is most influential in your child's eating for this age group. So it is very important role that the parents do their job in feeding, right? So preparing and exposing your child to a variety of food, a variety of different types of fruits or vegetables, of grains, or different type of proteins, right, while acting as a role model. And definitely let the child eat as much or as little as they want and they can. And here's the other thing, variety is the key. So definitely, focus a lot on the important nutrients such as the iron, the calcium, or even the vitamin D that you can get from the sun, right? So all of these are important for the growth of the children. And just expose them to different types of food that has calcium in it, like milk, yogurt, or even cheese. And of course, definitely do try to limit as much added sugar or juice or soda, because that can actually give them a different preference. But instead, provide more of the milk, the dairy, or drinks that are higher in nutrients, and definitely encourage them to drink plain water as their main beverage.
So I think it's safe to say that preschool is the best time to form nutritional habits for our kids.
Yes, definitely. So, preschoolers, they are starting to explore, and they are depending on the toddlers, right? So maybe they are also starting to form opinions about what they eat, right? So maybe they are starting to say no to certain food because they are not familiar, because they are trying out new things still. And yeah, whatever habits or eating strategies that the parents are trying, the child, right, is learning from them.
Okay, I think here comes our first truth or myth that we're going to talk about and discuss with you. We have heard this from many parents. I think this is a common struggle for many parents. My child will not eat food that is unfamiliar. I should provide only what my child likes to eat. What do you think about that, Tania?
Right. So, I mean, earlier I mentioned about the child maybe having some opinion or maybe starting to say no to certain food. And that can be very, very frustrating for many of the first-time parents or even parents in general, right? If your child is not eating what you prepare, that can be really frustrating and really annoying. But I must say that for children at this age or children at primary school as well, their taste and food preference can change from day to day, week to week. Yeah, there are many studies that shows that it takes as many as 15 exposure for the child to trust a certain type of new food, right? 15 exposure. So having them on the table, showing them about it, teaching them about it, right? So after the 15 exposure, it takes another 15 times for the child to accept it. So you need about 30 times of exposure for the
Wow.
child to actually eat and also maybe accept the food. So I must say, don't give up exposing your child to all the good nutrients, yeah, food with good nutrients, but of course also play around with a variety. For example, if your child don't like maybe grapes, maybe you can, give a different color grapes, maybe different types of fruit like strawberries or even melon or apple. Yeah, just give a variety. And it is also very important, I should say, whenever you are exposed your child to a certain type of food, always try to explain why this is good for you, why are fruits good for you, because you can get the fiber, the nutrients from it. Why are carrots good for you? So always explain so that they understand why they have to eat this food and how can it positively impact your body, how can it give your body the good nutrients that your body needs. Yeah, like giving them milk, maybe they don't really like milk, so explain to them, if you drink milk you can get the calcium, it makes your bones stronger, it makes your teeth stronger. So maybe not the first time they will accept, but eventually they might buy into it. So don't give up on your child.
So we have to be very patient, right, with our kids. And by the way, as a coach, I really have to agree with you. As a coach, I like to share with my own athletes why they are doing certain exercise. Exactly what you said about the food and in the preschool and the parents. We need to explain them why they are doing what we expect them to do, and once they understand, I think they feel much more confident in doing so. So there is an excellent advice, really. If we have any parents here from Michaelia or from any preschool, feel free to stay until the end, and you can ask us any question in either in Facebook or YouTube. We will try to answer as many as we can. Okay, moving up to primary school. From Michaelia, our excellent preschool center in Cempaka, all the way to primary school. Do the challenges remain the same, Tania, for the kids and the parents?
Well, I mean, different child, they grow and develop differently at different stages. So maybe the challenges might go up to primary school. We never know. But of course, always expose and give as much good environment, healthy environment, food, healthy, nutritious and food environment for your child. And I'm really happy to hear and see that there are maybe parents or future parents who are here, because definitely feeding young children requires some knowledge on your part as well as a parent or a caregiver to ensure that the feeding and the types of food and the nutritious food are good for the child. So as they transition into primary school, yeah, so these children are actually having a broader influence, right? Broader influence from maybe their classmates or maybe eating in school in terms of their dietary and also food choices. So at this age as well, they are starting to be more autonomous. They are starting to maybe take more responsibility, or they want to take more responsibility for themselves. So this stage is also important to reinforce certain habits. For example, making sure that they are getting the right food and nutrients and limit the exposure as well. So some of the recommendations for preschoolers still stands, of course. And of course, it is very important because at this age, maybe the child would be more picky and they are more assertive about, okay, I'm going to eat only this one, and that's all they take, right? So it is also important to be patient, and you can involve the children, and I think you should involve them to be part of the decision making when preparing food. For example, involving them in preparing their lunchbox, or maybe preparing their breakfast, or even going for grocery shopping. Ask them which type of fruits would you want to eat, and let them choose, right? So they are maybe the decision maker for the meal or the menu for the day, or that breakfast. So it makes them having some accountability or responsibility for their own diet. So yeah, and the other thing is because during the primary school age range, the body, there's not much of a growth spurt, but there's also growth. So it's important to maintain growth. So the body is still accumulating all the good nutrients for rapid growth later during the teenage years. Yeah. So there's also there's an increased need of energy, protein, and some of the essential fat, and calcium is also important. Yeah. So yeah, definitely. I would say do emphasize a lot more on exposing them, in terms of food, and also giving them some accountability for their own diet.
Okay, what can you say about this interesting website here, heartylunchbox.com.au? It's actually a lunchbox builder, and it's very interesting. I think it can be very helpful for parents who are unsure how to make their kids' lunchbox as healthy as possible. Can you tell us more about it?
Well, this is just one of the resources that I shared, and I think it's really cute, and you can definitely check it out. So for parents who are very keen on preparing their food from home, or haven't yet and want to, this is a good way to start. And they have many recipes, many different ideas that you can build your lunchbox. So in Malaysia, we have this healthy plate, called suku separuh. So this essentially, kind of fit in that way as well. So half of the lunch box or the plate, right? It's fruits and vegetables, and then the other quarter is the grain or whole grain or the complex carbohydrate, and then you have your proteins, right? Your lean protein. So this lunch box, if you go to the website, when you click on it, then you can choose what type of grains, or what type of fruits, or what type of vegetables with different recipes, and that's something that you can start doing with your child. Yeah, it's like a family bonding type of activity that you can do. So I really like it. It's very user friendly. It's very cute as well. So yeah, definitely do check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I just checked it out just before the webinar to have an idea, and I think it's really great, really intuitive. Okay, one more thing. As educators in school, we often see children leaving their vegetables aside during the lunch hour. And of course, we try to teach them that they are actually very good for them. It is healthy to take more vegetables. But can you give some advice for parents who are willing to help us and contribute for that at home?
So I think this is a very common, maybe common scenario in different schools as well. So I would say that first thing first, definitely if at home your child is not exposed to vegetables, eating vegetables or even fruits, then obviously when you go to school, they are not going to maybe touch it or even try it because they are not familiar with it. So first thing first, if at home you have to expose your kids to different types of vegetables, and even if they don't eat it, it's there and they know that it's safe and it's okay and it's good for them. So that's first thing. Then the other second thing is, of course, parents play such an important role in this, and always ask your child, how is lunch, how's the food, what have you eaten, did you finish your lunch, or if they haven't, why. And never, of course, never push them or force them, but always explain how different food are good for them, and always have good communication with your child. I always believe in this thing called responsive feeding, where you actually promote the child's acceptance. So giving them the authority, to decide how much or when they want to eat, and actually recognizing their hunger cues as well, instead of dominating the feeding, meaning like forcing them to eat something, yeah, and interfering with their autonomy or independence. Because once the child understand what's good for them, eventually they would accept it. It just may take some time.
Oh yes, at the end it always falls down on having a good conversation with your child and a good bonding. And talking about that and sorry, can we go back to the previous slide? Talking about that and looking at the background picture of our presentation, parents often put the extra effort to make cute and creative food presentation in attempt to make it more pleasant for their kids to eat. And I think that's great, but I would like to hear your thoughts about it. What can you say about this cute bunny presentation that we see on the background? Is this sufficient? Is this good enough?
Well, I really like the effort. Of course, as parents, you can do as many creative things and making food as cute as possible. I think it's a really good effort. Yeah, and there's no stopping it. But of course, looking at the picture itself, it's bacon with eggs and maybe 2 blueberries, and the whiskers are maybe made of cheese slices. So just looking at it overall, it's mainly just protein, and I won't even count the blueberries as fruit. So of course, when you want to prepare something, maybe even cute, try to also incorporate some of the other types of food from different food groups. Like from maybe the vegetables, you can use carrots, or cucumbers, maybe as their whiskers or ears, and then maybe add some good type of grains, like maybe corn or whole grain rice, things like that. So then, apart from making the food interesting to see and eat, you are also giving them good nutrients.
Yes, thank you so much. And that takes us to our second truth or myths section. Parents are often concerned about the weight, and of course, they should be. And a common question is, I think my child is gaining too much weight. I should stop him or her from eating carbs, being carbohydrates. Is that a truth or a myth? What do you think?
Well, I'm really happy that if someone were to approach me and talk to me about this, I'm really happy that the parent is concerned of their child's weight or health in general, which is great. And I hope that recognizing or knowing how they know that their child is gaining too much weight is not by just eyeballing, but actually they have went to the pediatrician or they have went to check, and looking at the chart, they are, I guess, above the 85 percentile in the growth chart. So it is important to keep track, right, of the growth and development of your child to make sure that they are growing properly, they are not stunted, they are not overweight. So that's a very good point already. But of course, if your healthcare provider or if your child is overweight, yeah, meaning above the 85 percentile in terms of weight or BMI, then the first thing I would say is not carbs, but actually limiting this energy dense food or nutrient poor snacks. So for example, like the chocolates, the sweets, the chips, things that are high in calorie, but it doesn't give you much nutrients. So I would say first thing is to make sure that they are not exposed to these, they don't have these often, because that's the first thing that contributes to their calories without even noticing, or even those sugary drinks, cupcakes and stuff. So these are confectionery or discretionary food that I would say, not to expose them too much. Yeah. And focus more on the more nutritious type of food. Okay. And the other thing is, of course, as children, always try to increase the physical activity because they should stay active. Yeah. Do you know how many minutes or how much at children, yeah, from age 7 or 8 to 18 years old should exercise in a day?
We actually try to promote this amongst our community. The World Health Organization is recommending at least 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity daily, which is very difficult to achieve, especially in these days of constant lockdown and quarantine. But yes, we always try to move more, as this is really important for our health, of course.
Yes, you're right. So the WHO actually recommends, and it just got released last year, the WHO actually recommends 60 minutes of physical activity for all the children. So, I mean, of course, during this pandemic, it might be difficult, but it's not impossible, right? 60 minutes a day, doing some physical activity with your child, or if you are a student here, right, pull your parents, pull your brother, sister, siblings, whoever, uncle, auntie, grandma, to join in to do some activity at home. Because when you are stationary and when you don't, walk a lot at home, all you do is, maybe go from your room to the kitchen, to the bathroom, maybe living room, and that's it. So your step count could be so little, and you are actually not using enough energy, right? And if you're keeping to what you're eating usually, then probably you might gain extra weight. So actually, it's a lot on the energy balance as well. And especially during this pandemic, it is important to stay active.
Thank you, Tania, for your input. And now moving on to our next topic. If parents have been following your advice and have been well taking care of their children's nutrition from preschool through the whole 6 years of primary school, perhaps we can give them a break. We can cut them some slack as they enter into secondary school, and let them make their own food choices, their own food decisions. Would that be right? What do you think? In secondary school, we're already more independent. So how does this go? What would be the dietitian's input on this?
Well, I'm not sure if cutting some slack, sounds about right, because, as a parent, you are the parent of your child for your whole life, right? But of course, and there might be some challenges too, with the teenagers as the child transition into, secondary school, being a teenager, going through puberty, because adolescent time, is a time of very, very rapid physical growth, psychosocial growth, right? Your social cycle changes, your body changes. So and all of that is because of puberty. And when there's so many changes going on, sometimes it gets quite frustrating, or there are new things that the child have to adapt to. So in this during this period of time, I think it's very important that the parents should have a little bit more understanding, should be more aware of the changes that's going around the child, right? Because as a child grow into transition into puberty, they have a greater awareness of their own appearances. They are more self-conscious about their body weight and maybe the body image, as well as there's also a lot of peer influence. Yeah, not just about the food. There's about a lot of things, but in terms of the nutrients, right? Maybe the friends are eating just very little, and then they feel like maybe I should eat little too, but actually during this period of time, puberty time, is when there's a growth spurt. That is when you have this suddenly accelerate and become really tall. And there's of course extra energy needed for their own growth and maturation, as well as if like being in Cempaka, you're always very active, so there's also an extra energy need to support your physical activity or exercise in school. So all of these, you need to have enough nutrients to support your growth. And during the puberty phase is when is the phase or the age group where the nutrient requirements are the highest compared to the child, compared to when you're adult. So definitely, cutting some slacks, probably, in terms of not being too naggy, giving them some authority in terms of making some decision. But I would say never give up, exposing them, providing them with a good, healthy eating environment, and not just about telling them off about, hey, you're gaining some weight, stop eating this, but actually maybe understanding better of why or how, or maybe focus on certain kind of food that give them good protein, good calcium. And for female, of course, iron is very important during this age group, because they are starting to have menstruation, and if they don't emphasize a lot on the iron rich food, such as the red meat or even the beans, lentils, then they could be iron deficient. So I think during this phase is so important to really bond and understand what your child is going through, so that they don't go the opposite way of what you want them to be, right? I think you're on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. On to our next truth or myth. Now, this one comes from my personal experience, as I have been asked a few times if it is okay for students to eat chocolate as well as their favorite junk food, as long as they don't gain any weight. Maybe their metabolism is way too good. So what do you think? Is it okay?
I like this question because this applies to a lot of the athletes as well. In sports nutrition. Because athletes are always exercising, right? They are burning off the energy. I can eat as much as anything as I want. So first thing first, I will have to say, because during the puberty phase or the adolescent phase, you are using a lot of energy, because you are growing, you gain more muscles, you burn more calories. Same for those who are athletes, especially this age, you are actually burning extra more calories. So I would say in terms of caloric needs, there's an increased needs. With increase in caloric needs, there's also nutrient needs. So what I mean by the nutrient needs are you need more protein, you need more calcium, you need more iron, you need all the vitamins, more of that. So of course, the chocolate can fulfill the part of the calorie, and the junk food as well can fulfill the part of the calorie, but it doesn't give you enough nutrients to support your growth. So of course you can still eat the chocolate occasionally, but I would definitely say do eat more of the important food that gives you the nutrients, And also but you also, of course, you can have your chocolate, just not every day or all the time, because they don't give you enough of what you need. And I mean, earlier when you asked me about, gaining weight and all, did you know that people who are overweight or obese can also be malnourished? Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yes. So they are
Great.
malnourished, not on the calorie, but they are malnourished in terms of nutrients. So maybe they can be overweight or obese, but they are anemic, or maybe they don't have enough calcium and stuff. So they could also be malnourished in terms of nutrients, but not calorie.
It's very interesting. Now we're finally at your favorite topic and specialty, Tania. You are a sports nutritionist after all. Cempakans are involved a lot in sports, and we're always very active throughout the year in events such as our Games Carnival, our Swimming Gala, Sports Day, and so many other sports events. And by the way, we have many state and even national level athletes. I would like to hear your advice for them. I'm sure many of them are listening right now, or they will be watching the recording later, and they would like to find out what would be your advice.
Right. So yes, I mean, I'm really excited to share about this, because during my time in Cempaka, we do so much sports, right? But there was not a lot of knowledge that I gained. I mean, as an athlete myself, in terms of sports nutrition, and all I hear a lot were recommendation by my coach, which is great, yeah. But then, of course, there are certain things where there's only so much that the coach can do, and sometimes you just don't want to listen to the coach after listening to the coach for the whole training session, right? So for those out there, for the students out there, if you are really active, make sure these three things, right? Fueling yourself, hydrating yourself, and recover. So what does fueling mean? Fueling means, giving your body enough to eat and drink before your exercise, to ensure enough fuel for your muscle, and also to prevent hunger during exercise. I'm not sure if any of you experienced this, but I did before. Maybe after 1 hour into my training session, I feel really hungry and I want to eat during training. So that's not supposed to happen. Yeah. So you are supposed to be able to eat enough for you to sustain your whole training session. Yeah. And of course, before your training session, do choose food that are higher in carbohydrate content and lower in fat, because fat actually slows down your digestion in your stomach and absorption of the carbohydrates. So carbohydrate is the fastest energy that your body can use. Okay, so foods like, for example, bread or banana, or even sports drinks, yeah, or granola bar, something that are higher in carbohydrate and lower in fat. And the other thing is hydrate. Yeah, so for anyone who has participated in games carnival outdoors, not the indoor ones like table tennis, but outdoors like handball or basketball or volleyball, right? The ones that are playing outdoors. So make sure that you hydrate yourself, or even sports day. I remember when I was doing I'm not sure if you guys still have it now in Cempaka, but during the sports day, we have kind of like a trial outside the Cempaka Cheras field. And I forgot what distance I was running, but I was participating in so many events and I didn't properly hydrate myself. And the moment I hit the finishing line, I just passed out. And it was all because of dehydration.
You're experienced athlete, even you were well-trained athlete at that time.
But I was experienced in the water, not on land. So I was not used to the heat. And for children, they are at higher risk of dehydration compared to adults, because for children, they are smaller size. So their surface area actually is wider and more exposed to the heat. So they get dehydrated, or if you are, what do you call this, a heavy sweater like me, I sweat very easily and a lot. So I get dehydrated very fast. So in the heat, in the hot sun, participating in so many, events, I was quite dehydrated, and I was afraid to drink too much water at that time because I scared, too full or what. But no, those are quite nonsense. So if you're outdoors, right? So please, 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 please hydrate yourself. If you're gonna be participating in a few events, make sure you have your sports drink with you. Yeah, and always make sure that how much water that you have, 500 milliliter ml. If you're participating in sport, make sure you have that periodically, meaning every 15 to 20 minutes, have a sip. Okay, not drink 500 at one go, but have sips every 15 to 20 minutes, because your body will use up the water periodically. And if you drink 500 at one go, you might want to go to the toilet very soon. Yeah.
Tania, you have actually touched upon our next truth or myth, which is about sports drinks. Many hardworking athletes, especially in sports where they have to really take care of their weight. In sports, they have weight categories, especially more than other sports. This is a common perception that they shouldn't take any sports drink due to the amount of sugar they have. Is that reasonable? And is it true?
So okay, when we talk about sports nutrition, right, it's very crucial to understand this is sports nutrition. So sports nutrition is about supporting your sports performance. So the type of food, the timing of food or drinks is very important to get all these nutrients into your body, into your muscles as fast as you can. So if you are not exercising, if you're asking me if can I just drink sports drink during normal? I would say no. Why do you need sports drink when you are at home doing nothing, right? But instead, if you are exercising outdoors in the heat for more than 45 minutes under the heat, and it's quite intense. So I would say bring a sports drink and a bottle of water, right, to hydrate yourself, because sports drink does retain water much more compared to plain water because of the sodium content in there, and also the amount of carbohydrates that are in there. And all the sports drink are actually formulated well enough for your body to digest and absorb as fast as you can. So for each 100 milliliters is 5 to 8 grams of a mixed carbohydrate or maltodextrin. Yeah, so actually the sports drink, if you ask me, it has lesser sugar content or carbohydrate content compared to fruit juice. So I would definitely recommend the sports drink if you are doing sports. But if you're not, then no. Don't take it. You don't need it. Yeah.
Okay, that was an excellent session. This was our last topic. And we're happy to move on to the Q&A. This
actually, I haven't finished. I have one more. Yeah, so sorry.
Okay.
And actually, apart from the hydrating, I think recovery is also very important. So if you are for all the students out there, if you're very active athletes, please eat and drink well after your exercise, because your body needs to recover. Okay, and I know that there may be a lot of myth going on where, I want to lose weight, so after I exercise I don't eat. Okay, please, that is wrong. That is very wrong, because why? First thing, after you exercise, your muscles are working a lot. So when your muscles are working a lot, the fuel that your body has used up, you need to replace it. So after you eat and drink, all of this fuel is going where? To the organs that are requiring all of this, which are your muscles. Okay, so you have to consume food or beverage, right, that has some carbohydrate, have some protein, to actually replenish the energy stores in your muscles. I mean, for me, the best ones for all the children out there, if you don't want to, I mean, for the parents also, to not waste too much money, is the chocolate milk or just milk. Right, they get your proteins and your carbohydrates in very quickly. Yeah, so if you can, after your exercise, do have some drinks or fluids or as something with some protein in it. So that is very, very important that I really would like to emphasize on that. Yeah, okay, sorry. I'm done.
No, thank you so much for sharing all of that. And yes, we're moving to our Q&A session. And this is the time when everyone who is watching live right now on Facebook and YouTube can have the chance to ask you their questions. So yes, let's move on to that. And actually, we have a couple of good questions already.
Sure. I'm happy to take them.
We will start with Irvin, who is asking, hydrate with water or sports drinks / Gatorade is better?
Okay. Hi, Irvin. Thanks for asking that question. I'm not sure if you're a student or a parent, but either way. So it really depends on what type of exercise you're doing and how long is the duration and how intense you are. If you're just going out for a walk, you're not really sweating a lot and you're just walking for 30 minutes, then you don't need sports drink. Just plain water is fine and good enough. But if you're doing something for a continuous duration for 45 minutes at least, and it's outdoors and very intense, you're sweating a lot, please go get your sports drink, either the Gatorade or 100 plus. But I have to say that I'm not a big fan of the carbonation of 100 plus. Get the one that are not carbonated, right? So these companies, they have done so many research about the sports drink and what is best for the absorption. So like I said, they would only contain 5 to 8 grams, right, of different types of mixed carbohydrates in there, and some sodium, about half a teaspoon. So definitely, if you are outdoors doing quite high intensity and you're going to exercise more than 45 minutes, please go get your sports drink and water. You can have, you can alternate both of them if you are a heavy sweater like me, or yeah, it's up to you. It's always drink periodically every 15 to 20 minutes. Thanks for the question.
Yes, this was an excellent question. And we have one more here from Zara. Her daughter is 4 years old. Is it okay she keeps on snacking fruits and vegetables instead of taking main meals? For example, bread, noodles, or rice. Sometimes she only wants to take vegetables and fruits during lunch and dinner, especially when she's at home. But she's not having problems eating outside of the house.
Well, Zara, thanks for your question. And I'm really happy that your daughter is eating a lot of fruits and vegetables. That is one of the challenges that many parents are facing. Their child don't want to eat fruits and vegetables. So maybe good job on your side. Probably during your pregnancy, you are also having a lot of that. So your child actually naturally are happy to, they are more acceptance, in terms of the fruits and vegetables. But in terms of bread and noodles, right, I would say that if you can try to incorporate some of it into into her snacking as well. So of course, main meals are important. Yeah. So if you have a time where she eats certain kind of food, always have that together with the fruits and vegetables. Maybe it's the way the bread is presented, or maybe the noodles or the rice. But there are other types of carbohydrates that maybe your daughter Zara might be interested in. For example, corn, potatoes, sweet potatoes, even cereal, the oats. So I think those are really good different types of carbohydrates that maybe your daughter might want to try as well. So apart from the bread, the noodles or rice, yeah, I think the other types are worth trying, because fruits and vegetables alone is not enough. It doesn't give them enough of the vitamin B and some of the other nutrients like magnesium and also and I hope that she's okay with her protein intake. So yeah, I hope that helps. And it's good that she's not having problem eating outside. Yeah, maybe it's just the type of food that she's not used to. Yeah.
Thanks for the answer. I hope that helps. And another one from Olivia. Some of my students who are desperate to slim down, how do you advise them?
Okay. Hi, Olivia. Thanks for your question. Some of your students are desperate to slim down. Okay. So first of all, I've shared earlier, right? So definitely, number one, cut down or limit the nutrient dense food. So all the food that are, sweet and all, it will take some time. It's not gonna be like suddenly I don't want to eat chocolate, I don't eat chocolate. It will take some time because our taste bud takes a while as well to get used to a certain taste. Okay, so slowly limit the nutrient dense food. Then the other thing is, of course, eating more of the eating more of the nutrient dense food, right? Or instead of calorie dense. So nutrient dense means something that a lot of nutrients. So for example, vegetables. Yeah, if you incorporate more of the vegetables, their calorie content is actually lower. So I would say in the meals itself, I think Malaysians in the National Health and Morbidity Survey in 2019, yeah, you can go and search it out. Do you know how many percentage of Malaysians are not getting enough fruits and vegetables? Do you know? Huh?
How many is that? I don't know really.
Really? 95% of Malaysians.
5%. Wow, that's a big number.
Yeah, so 95% of Malaysians, I hope I'm under the 5%. I'm kidding. Yeah, I am. But I mean, so 95% of Malaysians are not getting enough fruits and vegetables. So if you incorporate 5, okay, so 5 servings of fruit and vegetables is the recommended amount. So each meal, make sure you need to have some fruits, vegetables, or vegetables alone is fine, right? So for each meal, make sure that half your plate are filled with vegetables or fruits, right? I mean, of course, the expectation is not like to change suddenly, but slowly incorporate them. Even if your child don't like to eat it, maybe just have it there, right? Just have it there. Maybe change the way of cooking it. Maybe mince it a little bit smaller so they can't really notice it. And definitely that can really help in terms of reducing the energy intake. Yeah, and the third one would be increasing your physical activity.
Yay.
Yay! Do some physical activity, and I would say a higher intensity would be helpful instead of just a lower intensity 30-minute. So the recommendation is 75% of moderate to high intensity per week. That's like 10 to 15 minutes a day. So they all have to do just 10 to 15 minutes, and they can slowly increase it over time. Yeah. So I hope that helps, Olivia.
Yes, and we have another question here, which is very relevant to what we're experiencing now, from Hinchik Saleh Rose. Do we need to drink more water during MCO?
Hi, Inche Saleh. Go Harimau. Woohoo! I like your picture. So do we need to drink more water during MCO? I would say first thing, you need to drink enough water during MCO or any time, not just MCO. Okay, and during MCO, staying hydrated is very important. I won't say you need to drink extra more, but maintaining your hydration. So I guess the best way or the easiest way for you to gauge is just check your urine color, right? If it's really dark yellow, so then you know that you are dehydrated. Because when you're dehydrated during this time, your immune system will be compromised. So you don't want that to happen during this time, yeah, so that you won't, get sick easily and people will suspect that you might have the COVID. Yeah, so really to answer your question, it's important to stay hydrated. You don't have to necessarily drink extra more, but just make sure that you're not dehydrated.
Okay, very interesting question from Sulaiman. He's one of our students. what kind of general safe foods and exercises would you advise for underweight individuals to encourage muscle growth during the MCO? I think this is a little bit on the opposite side of what usually people who ask. People normally ask about how to lose weight, but here we have someone who would like to gain weight, perhaps muscle mass. So what do you think?
Hi, Sulaiman. Thanks for your question. Actually, it's a very common question for teenage boys, and not just teenage boys, but maybe even some of the athletes, the male athletes, because they are the group or population who has a really high energy needs, especially during the teenage years. Okay, their calorie intake might even go up to 3,000 a day. So I'm not too sure what you mean by safe foods, but I would say that if you are planning to gain some muscle mass during the MCO, there are two things that are important. One is to get enough of calorie in terms of food, right? In terms of food, calorie and protein, and also carbohydrates. The second one is the type of exercise that you're doing. So eating enough does not make you gain muscle. Okay, so you need to actually do the right type of exercise. That one maybe you can ask your coach or your trainer, right? So doing more of the resistant type of exercise for hypertrophy or muscle mass gain. So in terms of nutrition, so I'm going to talk a little bit more. So making sure that, let's say if you are going to do the exercise, make sure that you eat something before. Okay, so having enough of fuel for your muscle. And then after your exercise, just now I emphasized a lot on recovery, right? So if you are going to do a lot of resistant type of exercise or strength-based type of exercise to gain muscle mass, your body is going to have a lot of muscle damage. So when your body have a lot of muscle damage, there's a lot of in scientific term, it's called protein turnover, but basically it's your protein muscle breakdown, and then you need enough protein to build more muscle. Okay, so after your exercise, very, very important, please take some food or drinks with protein. The timing is also very important. Half an hour to 1 hour after your exercise, must eat that. So I guess the recommendation for protein is about 20 grams. That's something that you maybe if you have to look at the label, that's kind of equivalent to about 700 milliliters of just plain milk, yeah, or 1.5 piece of your drumstick, yeah. So I mean, that is very important, you know, having some food around your training time, especially for underweight individuals, to gain some muscle mass or gain some weight. So good question there, Sulaiman.
Okay, we are almost finished here because we are approaching 1 hour already. But there's one more question by Julia. Is it okay to eat before exercising?
Okay, good question. So in sports nutrition, we have something called the pre, during, post nutrition. So what you eat before, during, and after. So what you eat before is important to fuel your muscle, right? And the other thing is to prevent hunger. And of course, third one is also to make sure that you don't have any stomach ache because you eat too much. But upon saying that, different people have different tolerance to different kind of food. They have different time for digestion. Okay, so when you are exercising, also depending on the type of exercise, if you're going to do something that is very high in intensity, okay, whatever you eat before has to have a longer gap, you know, before you exercise. So after you eat, you might need more than half an hour to 1 hour after your exercise, before you can exercise. But then again, different people have different tolerance. So maybe some, they only need 30 minutes, some maybe need 1 hour. And of course, it's important to emphasize that mainly carbohydrates, because they go in and out fast. And also low in fat, because if you take something with some fat or some protein, it slows down the digestion and it stays in the stomach longer. So after, let's say you eat I'm just going to give a random example, like eat a lot of nuts. Okay, nuts are high in protein and fat, right? And very low in carbohydrate. And then immediately you go and do some high intensity exercise. Probably you might feel like it's going to come up, okay, because it's all there. But of course, if you're, we also have this thing called the gut training, right? So for some people, because all your body, your digestive system is made out of muscle, so your gut get used to certain kind of food or certain speed of digesting certain kind of food as well. So I remember this very well because I'm not very good with eating too much before exercise. But I know that my sister can eat a whole plate of rice right before training. And it's crazy because I can never do that. And I would puke after if I do that. But for her, she can just eat one whole plate of rice right before training. Yeah, so I think really it depends on individuals' tolerance, but it's important that if you are going to exercise, make sure that you actually feel yourself well if you're going to have more than 45 minutes or 1 hour type of exercise, so that you don't faint halfway during your workout.
Okay, thanks, Tania. One last question again from
Sure.
Mr. Saleh Rose. It is a great question. That's why I'm letting it come in. Otherwise, we are going to finish soon. Due to the lack of physical activity during this MCO, can fasting control overeating at home? Weight has increased because I often eat at home.
Hi, Saleh. Hey, how come your picture changed? This time more handsome already. So I believe there are a lot of different types of diet or ways that you try to restrict your calories, right? Because you are reducing your physical activity, so you're reducing your energy out, and you try to control or manage your energy in. So fasting, or in another way of type of diet, I guess, is intermittent fasting, right? So limiting the time that you eat to a shorter duration. I think that is it's really up to individual, because when you are doing the fasting or time restricted fasting, the intermittent fasting, you are just controlling the duration that you can eat. Okay, there are pros and cons about that. Pro is only during this time you can eat, and other times you can't eat. And the cons are, the pros, of course, and then you are, I guess, bounded by this time where, okay, that's the only time that you can eat. For people who are able to follow it, very strictly, that's good, because those are the times that you can eat. But the cons, okay, the negative outcome of it also could be, because those are the only time that you can eat, then you are going to binge eat during this time, because you feel that other times you are not able to eat. So what happens when, for example, for other times that you are not able to eat, for example, you feel extremely hungry, what are you going to do? And then the other thing is, if you're sick, I won't recommend this intermittent fasting thing, because when you're sick, your body is trying to get enough nutrients to fight the disease. So I won't recommend the fasting as well. Yeah. And of course, this should be something that is a temporary thing. Yeah, because when you are restricting your time of eating, then there will be times where you're going to go out and eat with some other people, and then you cannot eat, right? So instead of some people can adhere to the fasting or intermittent fasting, but instead of that, try not to have too much calorie dense food at home. Try not to have that at home, because when it's there and you see it, you want to eat it. So instead, have more of the fruits or the vegetables. Okay, I would recommend more of the vegetables, or those healthier kind of snacks like nuts as well, the plain nuts at home available, or even milk for the children. So when they're hungry, okay, take the milk. If they want something crunchy, they can have some nuts. Or you can bake your own lentils. Lentils are high in fiber, high in good proteins, high in also iron. bake them, make it crunchy, and you can eat it for whenever you want to snack. So yeah, try not to have too much of the other kinds of food, yeah, during this MCO, because when it's there, you tend to want to eat it.
Okay, sorry, another question. It's a great question. Coming from your answer previously to Irvin, you mentioned protein after a workout. I'm asking for my 13 and 16 years old son. Is protein drink 20 to 30 grams of protein suitable for teenagers?
I believe you're asking about those supplements, right? Because usually supplements, their protein range is about 20 to 30. And I wouldn't say that I would recommend the protein supplements for the 13 years old. Maybe the 16 years old is doable, but I guess depending on the intensity of the exercise as well. But definitely I wouldn't recommend as much, only because there are certain if you are going for a higher performance, right, you have to really take note of what kind of supplements that you are consuming. And certain types of protein supplements, they add a lot of different substance in it, which I wouldn't say that is good for the growth or the puberty age of these teenage boys or even girls. So yeah, I in terms of protein drink, if it's just I guess purely protein, I would say it's okay. But if it's those, muscle builder, all these weird things, I wouldn't recommend. Yeah, so try to get as much protein throughout the day. If they are a more serious athlete, try to get protein throughout the day, 10 to 20 grams at each snack or meal time. That will be really good, because for our own body as human, our body can't really metabolize more than, for general, I would say, an average cannot metabolize more than 25 grams. So you eat 40 grams, your body is gonna take in about 20 to 25 grams. The rest you're gonna excrete as urea. So better not waste your money. Better, spread out throughout the day, have some protein sources of food or milk, things like that, beans, yeah, spread out throughout the day. Thanks for asking. Yeah, I'm really happy that we have some active kids here.
Yes, that was an excellent session, Tania. Thank you so much for your time here with us, coming back to school virtually, and sharing your knowledge and experience with us and with our kids and parents. It was an excellent session, and I think we are over 1 hour and 7 minutes already. I think we should finish here, but we encourage everyone to contact us, using the school email, and we will try to answer as many questions as we can in the future. Thanks so much to everyone who joined today and watching us live. Thank you. And
thank you. I hope I can go back physically.
Okay.